Hey guys, and welcome back to Regrexit. Brexit England, Northern Ireland, and Eastern Europe. And in Brexit England, an MP's three-course meal will cost you under a tenner. In the House of Parliament, of course. Cooked by one of the greatest chefs in the world. Because, they have they have guy in there, yeah, the best ingredients. So it's the finest ingredients, the finest meats, the finest fishes, the finest vegan, the finest um, vegetarian. Everything will be top dollar, and that's why their restaurant makes a between £3 and £6 million loss every year because the food is so subsidised. But if you or I went into the House of Parliament, the very same meals will cost us between 50 and £70 for the same meals that these guys pay under a tenner for a three-course meal. Right? And these are the same people, well, especially one side of them, who vote against, right, disabled people's rights or people on benefits rights, feeding children, these people, right, all of them, when it comes down to it, all of them, right, can eat in there for under a tenner, a three-course meal, cooked, right, by a fantastic chef. And our benefit rates in this country are comparable to 1911. 1911. And these guys are eating, paying 1977 prices. that's what the prices what they're paying. 1977. Right? Just the hypocritical nature of these people, right, should just show us all that every last one of them should be thrown the hell out of the Houses of Parliament, right? Because that place is just a money pit, and guess who has to pay for it? That's us, by the way. All of us have to pay for that shit. And also, welcome back to By Any Means Necessary. Thank you so much for all your messages sent me. A special thanks here to everybody who signed up to my channel. I feel so blessed with so much people that have signed up. So thank you so much for that. And I've gone past 3,000. So thank you so much for that. I'll go for all your messages. I'll answer as many as I can. But I will like all your messages for definite. So we have to say well done to Manchester City for winning the Premiership in an absolutely fantastic game yesterday. The game was just because Aston Villa was up there. They was winning 2-0. Right, and all them times, the Liverpool fans was just there, who never walk alone. Right, but they walked alone because Man City come back and won that shit 3-2. Right, scored in the last 20 minutes. Yeah, in a 5-minute period, they scored 3 goals in a 5. It was just like off the hook. You know, just an absolutely fantastic game. And it's nice when these games go right down to the end of the season because we do need the excitement to be in the Premier League, and that was good to see it go right down to the wire. As it should be. And I should say congratulations to, I think is it Sunderland? Sunderland has come out of Division 1 up into the Championship. But I'm sure a few years ago Sunderland was I'm sure they was in the Premier League, wasn't there, a few years ago? So I don't know how they've dropped so far, but we have to say congratulations to them because obviously they've come back up into they've gone into the Championship. So if we can see if they just move straight through the Championship and next season they should be back in the Premiership. We'll see how good they are. But in the Championship, there's a lot of good sides in the Championship. So, we have to see what happens there. So far, we've got 20 cases of monkeypox in the UK, but there's cases all over the world. But they're saying this one has to be very close contact. You know what I mean? So mainly from like your partner or someone who you're in very, very close contact with. Do you know what I mean? But for me, yeah, I haven't stopped wearing a mask. Every shop I go in, I wear a mask. I was in B&Q the other day. I'm the only one. I was the only person in there wearing a mask, and the guy said to me, one of the guys said to me, does that still work for you then? So I said to him, listen, you know what? Since I've been wearing a mask, right, I haven't had a common cold. Right? So that's like, for me now, that's a common cold I haven't had for like, the last one I had, yeah, was in 2020. right, was just before the pandemic. So it was like, so we're talking about at the end of January, right, beginning of February 2020. That's the last time, yeah, I had a common cold. And from since then, yeah, from literally from since Sadiq Khan said, you know what, just tear up an old shirt, right, or something, and just put something over your face. Ever since then, right, I've been wearing a mask. And a lot of people's going like, I ain't wearing a mask because Sadiq Khan said to wear a mask, right, because he's a bloody Asian. Right? That's what a lot of people over here would say. You know, in this country would say. But me, my face was masked from since then, and ever since then, yeah, from every time I've been in the shop, my face has always been masked. If I go into any major shops anywhere, right, any shops, right, I could go into a shop, yeah, and it's just me one in there, and it's just like you're talking about a small corner shop, and I've still got my mask on. Right, because I've got mask. I've got a mask in my car. I've got a mask in my van. I've got a mask in my van. Right, so I always leave them in one place, and now I'm so set for taking them out with me that it just comes a second nature. So I've always, and if I'm and once in a while I might forget, right, and I'm walking towards the shop and I think, oh shit, and I've got to go back to the car, and go back to the van and go and get that shit, right? Because for me, I don't know when, yeah, I'm going to stop wearing a mask when I'm going into shops. I don't know when I'm going to stop, but for now, right, which is, you know, because like I go to raves, right, and I don't wear a mask in raves, which, you know, I don't know. I don't know, which seems very strange. Anyway, a Ukrainian refugee has run off with her host after moving in with him and his partner, and this woman claims that she's not a homewrecker. I think that someone needs to show her the definition of homewrecker within the dictionary. That's what I think someone needs to do. So listen, you know something, yeah? If you looked up the definition of homewrecker in a dictionary, even in the Oxford, you looked it up, love, right, and your face would be, they would have a picture of your face, right, at the right, because that's the classic definition. Is it not? or is there some other definition of a homewrecker? Right, someone who comes and takes away someone's partner. Right? But that's just like, I don't know. I think that this fella, right, was already unhappy, right? Because we've got to say that he's going to be the unhappy one, because obviously he's gone with the Ukrainian woman. I haven't seen what she looks like yet, but I could imagine that she's going to be very beautiful, right? Right, and so so he was probably the unhappy one, right? And I'm just I don't know how his partner or his wife didn't realise, yeah, that she's inviting someone in, right, that's come and take her partner away. Right? Because, well, I suppose he might have played the part where he wasn't playing the part where he was unhappy at home. But that's what she's done anyway. She decided, you know what, yeah, this guy, he's for me, and he's decided he's going to go and run off with her. Australia have got rid of their Conservative government, and they've voted in a Labour government over in Australia. And you know, there's Australia and the Australians, right? For some reason, you know, the Conservatives are the Liberals in Australia. I don't know what the hell that's about, but yeah. So they've decided, you know what, right? We no longer want this goddamn Scott Morrison in here, and they've got some bald-headed guy who looks a bit like Ian Duncan Smith in now. Right, so you know, so yeah, so they voted that after 10 years of 10 years of Conservative rule. Do you know what I mean? We've endured so much more than that. You know, we've endured, you know, because for what we've got, especially with this last 2 years with Boris Johnson, that Boris Johnson has given us like probably 30 years of Tory rule in the space of just 2 years. Do you know what I mean? With all the damage, especially with all the damage that Boris Johnson has done to this country, and you know, when you're looking at the cost of living crisis, right? You know, imagine that the people of this country, the working classes and the poor, right, virtually can't afford to live here no more, because you're talking about now, you know, 40%, right, So 4 in 10 people are in fuel poverty, which is just crazy figures. It's just absolutely crazy. When we got things like 400,000 young people, yeah, being treated for mental health issues every month. That's just, so I said, Boris Johnson has just absolutely, because of how, especially the way how he handled the pandemic, you know, just leaving people in their house with no one to talk to, right? Wasn't helpful at all. For a lot of people. For me, I was out working all, throughout the whole of COVID. I mean, I think I was locked down for maybe about a week. Do you know what I mean? Which was okay for me. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, I wasn't. You're not earning no money in that time because I work for myself. So, do you know what I mean? Not earning no money, so I have to get back out there and work because you've got no choice in the matter. Do you know what I mean? Pandemic or no pandemic, right? For people like me who work for ourselves, yeah. So, and especially as you're not, you wasn't wasn't getting anything. There was nothing coming in from the government for people like me. So we just had to carry on with what we had to carry on with. So I started that with Australia, right? Kicking out the Tories, and then went on to start talking about the cost of living crisis, which is just like, it's just destroying, just absolutely destroying, and I put all these things that firmly down to Boris Johnson, especially like this cost of living crisis now that we're facing now, right, has got a lot more to do with Brexit, right? It's got a bit to do with, like, the end of, like, the pandemic, and the war in Ukraine. I mean, yeah, okay, but had the Tories not sold off, right, all of our, the gas and the electric and all this to other countries, then we wouldn't be in the position that we're in. They would be in full control of the gas and the electric, but the government's not in control of that. So they can't even go to these people and say, you know what, yeah, um, they can ask for a windfall tax from these people, but as I said to you before, right, a windfall tax is no good to the people of this country. What the people of this country need is they need the government to take back control of the gas and the electric, right, and start to store gas again, right, and so the government delivers us our gas and electric and our water. They need to, we need a government to come back in and take control, as Jeremy Corbyn wanted to do, right, until you people, decided, what, we want to vote for the clown instead of the man who wants to redistribute the wealth. Because, I mean, why would the poor and the working class want wealth redistributed anyway? I mean, why would they? Because, the rich man in his castle and the poor man at his gates, and the rest of that, right? But because they say that's how God would want it. Is that really? Okay. I think, a lot of times I think that's why religion was brought in, so that they could, they can control the masses. It's a lot easier to control the masses if you can speak about, a great wizard in the sky. But it's going to be a lot easier to control the masses and say, well, God wouldn't want you to do that. God would shake his head at you and say, bad human. But the stupidity of it is, right, is the poor and the working classes fall for it on a daily basis because they're stupid and thick and a bunch of racist idiots, right, fighting against each other, right, when they already have a common enemy, right? And if you can't work out who the common enemy is, people like Jacob Rees-Mogg. Because if you're voting on the same side as Jacob Rees-Mogg, right, then I don't know. You must be stupid. Yeah, that's all I can put you down to be. It's just stupid and racist. Racist and stupid, the two go together. But I was pulled up by one of my by someone who messaged me the other day and said, "Listen, don't mistake right, stupidity with racism. And I've told you before, I never do. I understand, right, that there are people who are just out and out racist, and they're stupid as well. Right? And there are people, right, who are stupid enough to just go along with them. They're not racist, but for some reason, like the whole Brexit thing, a lot of people, right, who's not racist, right, voted for Brexit for some stupid reason. I can't work out what yet, but for some stupid reason. But I do know that every racist voted for Brexit. You see, so that's the issue. See. Anywho, right, 1 month ago, yeah, Boris Johnson and Sue Gray had a secret meeting, and a spokesman for Boris Johnson has said, we didn't call the meeting. And Sue Gray's people, because Sue Gray's got people, you see. I don't even really believe there's a real Sue Gray. Right? They just keep showing a picture of a woman, right? And I'm just thinking to myself, well, that could just be any woman. She could be called Sue Blue, right? You know, for all we know, we don't know who this Sue Gray woman is, right? Anyway, no, it's very serious, right? So they had a meeting, and it's what the hell, right? A month ago they had a meeting, so. See, the level of corruption in this country is just like, it's very, very high, because she's doing an investigation into them. Yeah, so we know her report is done, report's finished, right? So she would have met him in, I don't know whether she met him in the beginning. When she could have met all these people, so she could write her report. So we'd expect that. But then why a month ago? What's that about? Right, and you see the difference in how the law works, right? For these people, the law just works like it sort of just like drags its feet, right? The law's just there, just come on, law, come on, for rich people. Do you know what I mean? It's just like seriously, like well, I say for for people who are classes above us, right? The law just works in mysterious ways for them. They have to be dragged, dragged and dragged and dragged. Even though, right, for you or I, all that evidence, right, would have been wrapped up in 3 or 4 minutes, right? Where especially as the Met Police, yeah, have got everything that they needed to have at hand, everything, right? But it just dragged on for these people. It just dragged on. But you have to wonder why, yeah, Boris Johnson is meeting Sue Gray. Right, a month ago, right? I mean, he could have been meeting and said to her, "Well, what would you like to be, Baroness Gray or Lady Gray?" Or he could have said to her, "Well, I can offer you an earlship." That's terrible. That's a terrible joke. Her Majesty opened a new tube line, the Bread Line. Especially in the times we're passing, but that shit was a Freudian slip. It's actually called the Elizabeth line. Victoria line. We've already got Victoria line. The Elizabeth line, so we could call that, but might go for like the Lilibet line or Liz line. But the Queen, as if the Queen hasn't got enough things named after her as it is, but they thought to themselves, you know what, we need to bestow more upon Her Majesty. So the Queen was down opening the new. I think that's what we should just call it. We should just call it the Bread Line, especially in this, in the situation that we're living in right now. We should call that shit the Bread Line, especially when we have the Chancellor of the Exchequer who just hit the rich list, right? A man who didn't realise that his wife was paid £12 million in, I think it was last year or something like that, and he didn't know nothing about those payments that she received for £12 million. That's when you know you're rich. That's when you know you're rich, right? Because for us, right, our partner gets a tenner or something like that extra from work. We're like, oh, yeah, it's very good, very nice, because we know all about it. These people can get £12 million, right, and one of them don't know that the other received that money, right? So obviously now, right, it's no news when we hear that that the Chancellor. It's because they didn't realise, how much their assets was actually worth, why they haven't been on the rich list before. because they didn't realise, how much they was actually worth before. And say, well, okay, but you are the Chancellor, right? And if you don't know what's in your own house, how the hell, right, could you know what's in the fucking country, right? If you don't know, you know what it is, yeah, is Rishi Sunak has tried his hardest to hide. For some reason, he's tried his hardest to hide his wealth. Do you know what I mean? From the everyday person. But obviously, like I think he's the first chancellor to be on the rich list, or the first minister to be on the rich list. So we could just say that he's as rich as hell. But Jacob Rees-Mogg has probably got as much money, but he's just got it. But Jacob Rees-Mogg has, he's more old money. So Jacob Rees-Mogg's money will be in investments where it's not really where it won't be counted. Right, because he can have it locked down and probably in companies, so it won't be counted, right, in his personal wealth. So that's why I don't think, because Jacob Rees-Mogg, he's the minister, and if any ministers would be on it would be him, right? But as I said, he's old money, whereas Rishi Sunak is much, they're probably much more new money, right? So Rees-Mogg, right, they, remember who his dad, William Rees-Mogg, or whatever the hell his name was. He wrote a book, how to make money in a disaster or something like that. Because that's what they are. They're disaster capitalists. So that's why Brexit suits Jacob Rees-Mogg, because he's a disaster capitalist as well. So they want to go to places where it's a disaster, so they can make lots of money in those type of places out of people's misery generally. So Rishi Sunak, we all knew that he was as rich as hell, but obviously now he's in the rich list where he doesn't really want to be, where he never really wanted to be, But it's all come back to catches up his ass. But when you got, when we know all about your swimming pool, like that costs you £1,000 a month to heat, right? While people can't even heat their homes, people can't even eat. People have got an indoor coat and an outdoor coat, and this fool has got a swimming pool in his house, right, that he heats for £1,000 a month. And these fools vote, right, for these clowns, right, as opposed to Jeremy Corbyn, who wanted to redistribute. Did you hear the word? Redistribute the wealth. But you thought, no, all the wealth of this country needs to go to a very small amount of people. Because, that small amount of people always tell us, that, the blacks and the brown people and all those people who speak a funny language, they're your problem. That's your problem. It's them who live next door to you. Look at them. Coming over here, taking all your jobs. Coming over here, right, getting all the hospital appointments. Coming over here, blocking up all our roads. Yeah, that's what they tell you. And they even, right, try and speak a bit Cockney while they're telling you as well. You see, remember David Cameron? Just call me Dave. Like he's some sort of fucking grime artist. Ian Duncan Smith, a man who consistently voted against raising benefits, right, is now arguing for people on benefits. Really? That's what happens, right? When you put in people in charge, right, who lie about their qualifications. People who tell lies about their qualifications, right, you find they often tell lies about other things. Ian Duncan Smith has always voted against, right, raising benefits. Consistently, while he's in there, right, eating a 3-course meal for under a tenner. Right. And the beauty of that for those politicians, the real beauty of that is they can claim that on expenses. They can claim their expenses for their lunches or their dinners or their breakfast. They can claim it on expenses. Imagine that. Right. What we should really do is just say to them, you know what? Take out all them fancy restaurants from in there, yeah, and put a fucking KFC, a McDonald's, and a Subway in there, right? Because that covers everything, right? They say, be like us, right? You're working for us, right? Be like us. But Ian Duncan Smith, a man who's consistently voted against right? You know, the poor and the working classes, right? Now he is our champion. Piss off, you bald-headed shithouse. He's having a fucking laugh. Right, you know, this fool, right, looks like one of those two from the Muppets, right, who used to sit up in the gallery. I can't remember what their names was right now, yeah, but he looks like one of them, right. And what he should do, right, he should just go off with his millionaire self, right, after he's been given a fucking title, right, which he doesn't deserve, right. Like, he's a champion for the poor and the working classes. Give me a fucking break. Right, Marjorie Taylor Greene in America, right? You know, why are these people not marginalised? You tell me, even by the GOP, the grand old party, why is people like this not marginalised? Why is it, right, that this type of racism is mainstream? You know, she was in Congress the other day speaking about like the mass shooting, right? And then, you know, she's speaking about it, right? And she's linking things like, you know, when that guy drove through the parade, right, where he was being chased by the police, right? He was a black guy he was being chased by the police. He drove through the parade, right? So she's linking that, and I say, well, you know something, these are two completely different crimes. Yeah, he was just a criminal, right, trying to get away from the police. And he's driven in, you know, and he's stupidly driven into a load of people in the parade. Right, which has put him in much more problems than, you know, he would have been for just running from the police. You know, now he's got it's death by, you know, by dangerous driving. But obviously in America, that's gonna carry probably a 30-year sentence, and he's got like, I don't know how much, I can't remember how much people he killed. But you know, you can't link that, yeah, with someone who's deliberately gone out, right, to go and murder, you know, minorities. You know, or someone who's, you know, deliberately gone out to go and murder a load of white people. Does that ever happen? Well, I can't remember any black people, especially in America. I can't remember any, you know, black people just going out and just massacring a load of white people just because they're white. You know, just trying to think about, you know, but we do have, you know, so many young white men in America going around, right, and just slaughtering, right, whether people are Asian, right, they target Jewish people, right, you know, they target black people, they target Mexicans, right. You have to wonder, right, what the hell is going on in these people's heads? And then you've got people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is a mainstream politician, right? And you have to wonder why these people, right, are not marginalised. You have to wonder why they're not marginalised. Why are, right, white far right people allowed to get away with this? Because, you know, we wouldn't put up with this from Muslims, would we? You know, with Anjan Chowdhury them, right, and throw their ass in prison, or with hook hand, or with, like, you know, or if you've got, you know, a couple of hooks on your hands, right, then, you know what, we'll deport your ass to America or to wherever the hell he got deported to, and make sure you stay in prison for the rest of your life. But all of these white supremacists, right, are allowed to be mainstream, so mainstream, right, that they can cause an insurrection in America, right, and then, you know, and then after a couple of years they go, oh, you know, you can run for president again. You know, I know at least, right, in a black or brown country, right, that doesn't happen. That can't happen. But in America, I heard them say the other day, oh, you know, well, you know, we don't want to be like a banana Republican, you know, and start going after our political enemies, and say, well, even when they cause an insurrection. That's the mentality, you know, of here and in America. Right? Because look at the stuff what Boris Johnson's been allowed to get away with. You know, Boris Johnson is a liar, a cheat, and a thief. Okay, I mean, you know, that £37 billion that this man has stole from this country, right, or the £50 million for the Garden Bridge, right? He's just been allowed to just get away with these things. He's one of the biggest criminals in this country, right? And I mean, and you know, and he's been fined by the police while he's a sitting prime minister. That just shows you a level of criminality when that can happen to you. I best get on though, because, you know, I've still got a couple more stories to talk about. Obviously, Brexit. So let's move on to that. The USA have warned Britain not to interfere with the Good Friday Agreement. Again, because Britain, right, likes to interfere, right, with things, right, that it shouldn't be interfering with. So the US have had to step in and say, stop doing this bullshit. Right, stop it with the nonsense on the Good Friday Agreement. Right. You know, it's been hit by the Irish Protocol, of course, the deal that Boris Johnson signed. Whereas I can go to a house, a mansion, £10,000 a month to rent, and I rent it, and then a couple of weeks later I'd phone them and say to them, well, I want to change the contract. And they say, well, what do you mean you want to change the contract? So, yeah, well, I'm going to offer you £500 a month. I say, what? I'm going to offer you £500 of the Queen's pounds a month. Have you got a problem with that? Yes, we have. Why? Well, first of all, right, if that's what your offer is, you know what you can do with your black ass, right? I say, rude. Rude. I'm offering you good money. Well, you can take your good money and get your black ass out of our house. That's what they'd say. Because you can't change contracts after you sign them. Very difficult. Right? This is not a football contract after all. We all know how they work. EU ambassador has told Liz Truss the protocol is not for changing. And Liz Truss has said with her pencil neck, how dare you, sir? But, it's just the arrogance. It's just the arrogance of the English. I mean, you know what? Yeah, it's because you have to do what we say because we're British. But I think they find that now that doesn't really work anymore. Do you know what I mean? The whole empire and rule Britannia and all that shit. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't really work on people no more. Especially right when you leave the club and then you still want so we have orders for you, and you will accept those orders. Yeah, and they just say to you now, piss off, right? Boris Johnson's father Stanley has taken up French citizenship. Wow. Just, with Jacob Rees-Mogg moving all his businesses over to Ireland, right? And and now we've got like Boris Johnson's dad taking up French citizenship because I don't want to be British. Even just I don't want to be British no more. Fuck that shit. That's a horrible racist motherfucking place. That's what Stanley's saying. I don't want to be one of you anymore. Piss off, you lot. Imagine that. So we can imagine that obviously, this is a lot of those MPs are going to do that because the thing what they've taken away, right, is your freedom of movement. Because they'll still all have theirs. They'll all still have their freedom of movement, and you and them have colluded together to take away your own freedom of movement. You stupid, racist idiots. The EU have warned Britain it will not get the science grants, cash, right, spondoolies, the dough, right, the bags of sand, right, if, right, it continues with its prevails over the Brexit, right. So that's probably the Irish Protocol again, right. But they said, you know what, you ain't going to get that cash, right. There's not going to be no cash for you. No cash Ola. You can go and piss off, you racist motherfucking nation. Well, I think that's what they would have said anyway. Right? Anyway, guys, look, I've gone well over my time. So far over my time. But I didn't do a video on Friday, so, Anyway, guys, look, I've got well over my time, so I've got to bow out of here. This is By Any Means Necessary. I'm the MC John Ribbs. It was really nice to speak to you guys. Comments below.